guess my question is Diebold here to answer that question today? I would suggest that, well,
Bob Bateman, Sales Associate, Diebold Election Systems. I reside in Omaha, Nebraska. I flew in here this morning to meet with the board regarding this issue. I would like to recap and go over a little bit of Lou's report, and then I also have with me today Mike Rich from our IT staff, who will perhaps get into what is going to happen from this point forward from a more technical standpoint. Mr. Coxon, you referred to errors before, after, and in between. I think we need to define what you mean by errors. I think when Lou was describing the errors that they encountered when the equipment first initially arrived was a matter of procedural things rather than technical or equipment failures. In software, you have certain things that you activate or you deactivate with certain programs, and not being that technical, I think from a layman's terms, that's what happens. And when the button isn't activated, it will not react in the manner that it's supposed to react for the function that it's supposed to do. And I think that didn't happen. When that switch was activated, further testing showed during the LNA, during what you refer to as the IVD, the machines functioned correctly. Is that a safe assumption, Lou?
And at the end of the day, after all the white selections were made, we were able to count the votes.
Okay, so, just to be sure, I don't want the impression out there that the staff here at the election board did not do a thorough job of evaluating the equipment and testing the equipment before they put it on the firing line in an actual election. In fact, I think they did an excellent job, and in fact, I think that the report that Lou and his team have put together defines very nicely exactly where we are at this point. Second, would reiterate that yes, the equipment is certified through the federal testing laboratories. The equipment was certified by the Ohio Secretary of State's office, or it would never have been delivered or used in an actual election in the state of Ohio. So that issue needs to also be clearly stated. At this point in time, the EMP is a new product that Diebold has brought forward. It is in response to concerns that customers, especially counties of the size of Cuyhoga, Montgomery, Lucas, etc., voiced the timeliness of uploading cards after the election and the amount of labor-intensiveness necessary in what we call loading the cards prior to the election. The EMP is a device that allows you to do several cards at once rather than putting one card in an individual TSX machine, having it upload, removing it, putting another one in. So it's a device that was that we developed through our research and development team to speed up those processes. And that is the only function of the election, which brings me to I want to make very clear to you that nowhere during this election, before, after, or in between, were any of the votes ever in jeopardy. There are always backups within the system, so you had 3 redundant sources that we could always go back to and on which they actually did to retrieve vote totals. At no time were vote totals in jeopardy during this election. And I think that needs to be stated very clearly. So once the problem was realized, I think that the reaction was very good on the part of both the election board staff and the Diebold staff. And by the end of the evening, totals were reported, official results, and since that point in time, have you certified the election?
We will be doing that.
You will be doing that, certifying the totals of the election. So now we get to the point of, from this point forward, we received the report from the team that Cuyhoga County assembled to look at what they could come up with as possible explanations for what happened. And now it's our ball that now we can have the equipment, we can have the tapes, etc., that we can put our noses to the grindstone and come up with what we think the ultimate solution is. Because not only would Lou suggest not using it in another election, neither would we if we're not totally convinced, and if we can't convince you totally that the equipment is ready to operate as it's had that, I'll let Mike explain to you what his staff will be doing now in order to alleviate exactly what the problem is. We do not know at this point because we haven't had a chance to delve into it in the depth that it will need to be delved into. Yes.
Let me ask you, speak on that to Mr. Wu. How much is each unit, each EMP unit, the cost of the unit?
I believe the list price is $54.95, is that
I believe we purchased it at $5,000.
per unit?
$49.95, something.
And then there's obviously installation fee and associated software costs.
Okay, how many units did you purchase?
36.
You purchased 36?
Yes. That was what was recommended via Diebold.
So, the chairman raises a very, very good point. Just the hardware alone is about $180,000. Don't go too far, Mr. Wu. It's about $180,000 for hardware. How much is software?
That was the price with it.
Was it, Mr. Wu?
When I said software, the only software cost would be your ongoing, don't you have a maintenance fee associated with that also, Michael? Maintenance fee?
I don't believe there was any maintenance fees associated with it.
But you're basically talking about what you just said, the hardware cost, 36 times the 54.95.
Let me be clear. We were faced, Mr. Wu, was it recommended in the CERB report that we purchase the EMP?
Yes. I think they asked us that we should move forward with purchasing like 72 of them, or actually it was like 50 something, yeah.
And so we purchased 36.
Yeah. After Diebold came back with a plan, various plans to have the update card.
Well, let me ask you this, Mr. Wu. Obviously, we're only one of 88 counties in the state of Ohio. Have some of the other counties experienced this whole lockup issue? And again, if your technical person can come up, I'll ask him the same question I asked Mr. Eric, and that is, in a lockup situation, would that affect retaliation? I appreciate what you said about redundancy, but we would not be adequate protectors of county dollars if we knowingly purchased a failed device. I don't think we knowingly purchased a failed device. But as a part of your testing, have you encountered the lockup situation, and does that affect tabulation? I appreciate the redundancy, but don't make me spend $180,000 if I have to depend upon ancillary sources to support the tabulation.
The anomalies that we experienced in Cuyhoga County with the lockup is, as I understand it, totally new to anything that we've encountered at this point in time. I will let Mr. Rich respond to the more technical question. I thought you were going to ask, are they being used in any other counties in Ohio, and yes, they are.
And that was a part of my line of questioning. If they're being used, do the other counties experience what we experience?
Well, no, and keep in mind that when we talk about certification, especially at the federal level, one of the biggest aspects of many of the federal testing programs is what they call their volume testing, where they run it over and over and over, upload, download, upload, download. And it's not going to pass any of those certification processes unless it's functioning normally. So what we have to figure out in the Cuyhoga instance is what was different with the card, with the machine, with the environment, or what that caused the anomaly to occur, and how can we be sure it never happens again? And that's what we owe you back as an explanation. And that's what Mr. Richardson will be working on, along with your Cuyhoga team.
I guess that's the concern of this board. The anomalies, unfortunately, occur in Cuyhoga County.
Unfortunately. I suggested that we hadn't gotten to the root causes at this point in time because there were certain things that we could not have access to until a certain point in time. And as we talked with Lou now, I think we now have full access to all of those materials that we'll need to do our testing. That fair? I'll also be here for the whole night, and if you have any other questions. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mike Rich. I'm an engineer in development for Diebold, and I work out of our North Canton office, actually Green, Ohio office down toward Canton. And I would like to start with a question of what would you like?
Well, as the chairman said, what are the next steps?
Okay.
What will you do? What will you do to address the lockup problem?
Mhm.
And what would you do to either change your training protocol? Apparently, Dickman indicated that initially there were some procedural errors which would suggest that our people may have been inadequately trained. So there are soft issues as well as hard issues. Could you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, first of all, regarding the lockup issue, this is something that, I think was discovered during the test sessions here that we did in the last few days, beginning here on February the 16th, then on the 21st and 22nd. So I don't believe, had we seen this lockup in actual use? I don't think so. So this is something we haven't seen, and so of course we're taking it very seriously, that we want to try to understand what is going on with that. So the first step, of course, has been to sort of collect as much information as we can with the units in place here in the county, so that we don't disturb the state that they're in. And now that we have that data, we're looking that over. We're also looking over similar machines at Diebold and looking at our code to try to understand the cause. At some point, then we will need to, or we'll be working with the actual equipment here to try to diagnose if it's a specific problem or more of a systemic kind of problem with the EMP hardware system. So, we've really only begun the digesting of the data, and soon we'll be, probably come up with a list asking for, what kind of machines we want to look at, or what kind of steps we want to take in working with the county, and address what that root cause is, find what the root cause is, and correct it.
Mr. Rich,
Yes.
how long do you estimate all this is going to take?
It can be very difficult to say in these sorts of occurrences. We have not seen this before, and with new problems, it depends on how obscure the cause is. I mean, it's sort of like searching for something hidden. If it's well hidden, it's going to be difficult. What we can tell you is that we're giving it top priority. We have our development staff in Vancouver looking at the software. We're doing testing in North Canton and evaluation, and also in Texas, where our headquarters is. So, I just can't really give you a time frame at this point for what it would take. These problems, in my experience, have taken anywhere from days to weeks to fully diagnose, to fully understand.
So at this point, you believe it's a software problem?
I can't say that, that's one of the possibilities, is that it's software. still haven't ruled out a hardware issue or an issue perhaps with the cards themselves. Attacking on all those fronts, hardware, supplies, even our production and testing processes at Diebold itself.
Let me ask you this. Product, a system-wide problem, what I'm saying is, do you feel that this is a problem that you have to identify for all EMPs regardless of where they're in service?
We really don't know enough at this point to characterize it as system-wide, but we might as well treat it as that until we understand, what the cause is. If it turns out that there's, say, some problem with the particular units that you have here in Cuyhoga and it's nowhere else, then, we'll have found it's not necessarily a system-wide problem. But, that's part of the diagnostic process to determine how widespread it is and to address it.
Well, Mr. Ritchie,
Yes.
here's one of the conclusions that was drawn. It says the cause of the failure of the EMP's election night is the corruption of the file allocation table, referred to as the FAT table, on the memory card when it's placed into the memory card reader of an EMP. The FAT error manifests itself as a corrupt configuration file that exists on each memory card. Testing appears to indicate that performing a FAT16 format of a card prior to the download of an election prevents both errors from occurring. I mean, this seems to me that we expect to buy a Cadillac here and we're buying a Model T4.
Well, I think, this particular conclusion, given what we know at this point, actually what little we know about the cause of the problem, this has identified around the future and we go on. For instance, as I saw them, corrected, but the certification process can be so very long. I mean, that's a months and even in some cases a years kind of process. So that I'm sorry.
Mr. Richard, it appears to me that we have, these EMPs will not be available to us, nor will we be able to use them for the May primary, most definitely, since we're just a little over 60 days away from that. And it appears that we may not be able to use them for the August spatial, nor any of our September primary elections this year, so.
I would have to say at this point, though, we can't be sure at this point that they can't be used. I think, we haven't, we're only into the beginning of the diagnostic phase, and as I said before, if we find a cause quickly, and if it's easily corrected, then these could be ready for use in May or later elections. We just don't know enough at this point in the diagnostic process to be able to make a statement, but we certainly at this point can't rule out that these would be available.
I guess, Mr. Diekman, I'm going to ask you this question. Are you prepared to supply us with 60 voting units that we can use in place of the EMPs? Yes, tax units.
State the question again, sir.
Are you prepared to supply us with 60 TSX units that we can use to upload these memory cards as they come in, as long as the EMPs are down and not operating?
I would certainly think that that would be something that we could do. I would have to check with my superiors before I could answer that to you, but we will work with the county to be sure you have a solution for your May election. I'm assuming you'll have all your PSX units in the field that day, is that
I
correct?
think that's our, wait a second, we don't have, at this point, we do not have countywide primaries, so
Okay.
we may not, but we will certainly have.
If you don't have all your units deployed, obviously, then you have units that you can use for the upload, because any unit, as you all know,
Yeah.
can be an upload unit.
Mr. President, I think one of the recommendations that needs to occur after the evaluation of reviewing the task force is to let Diebold to define if there is any other further root causes. Is it Rich? Do you say?
Mike Rich.
Well, on the other opposite end is getting Diebold representatives in.
And I guess I would like to say one thing, and to address that, is that I think we have demonstrated a history of working with the county and with our customers in general to meet, the needs of the election. Whether that be 60 machines or extra people or whatever, I think, we will help however we have at this point. In fact, I'm not even completely familiar with all of the information that's stored there, but everything that Chris collected, he has transferred to us.
I think it's good.
Well, I just wanted to actually follow up on the question that Mr. Grossman had. He asked you, have you ever experienced any of the problems that the CCBOE has seen in the document? I think you were answering on the lockers, but more in general, what about the other two respective issues? Because it's my understanding, just to let you know, it was my understanding that that you had experienced some issue in Butler County also.
Yeah, I believe that we're using this in 3 counties in Ohio, Butler, Lucas, and Cuyhoga. And I had heard a report that perhaps there was a problem in Butler, but none of that is substantiated that I know of, or I haven't seen, the direct data that we have.
Let me just say that the call was made out to Butler County tonight.
Excuse me, Butler County had some cards corrupted during the upload process. They re-uploaded, reformatted them, uploaded them back to the system, and had no problem from that point forward. They felt it was a success as a result of the minimum number of cards that became corrupted during the loading process. We have not been able to establish what the problem was with those particular cards in Butler County.
Was that an election prior to or during? When was the EMP used in Butler County?
The last
February
election.
election.
So,
And
in
Lucas, to
effect,
my knowledge, reported no card problems in their upload.
But Bob, in effect, they did, Butler County suffered the same problems we did, correct? They had the same problems that we did,
No,
correct?
no, when I referred to these problems didn't occur, I was talking about the lockdown that you were referring to at that point in time in the conversation. That has not happened in any other jurisdiction that I'm aware of.
That's not what Mr. Boo was referring to.
I'm sorry?
That wasn't about what Mr. Boo was
That was
referring
the
to.
point in the conversation when we were talking, you were asking about the lockdown of the
Could you come to the
system.
microphone, please?
I thought that's what I was referring to.
Yeah, I think they're concerned that we had, I think they were referring to a memory card.
Oh, okay, well, then I misunderstood, because I'm aware of the fact that Butler County had like 3 cards, I believe, is when I talked to them at the conference in January. And,
So it was prior to then that Butler County experienced problems?
prior to,
The election.
February's election.
oh, I'm sorry, yeah. Butler County I talked to in January, and they alluded to, they had to re-upload, I believe they said 3 was the number of cards that they had referred to at that point in time. To them, it was a non-issue. They went and they regenerated the results out of the machine, which is where the redundancy lies, and re-uploaded the cards and felt like it was a very much a successful process for them and the amount of time it saved them, et cetera, et cetera. Sorry, Mr. Coxon, if I misunderstood at the point in time what you were alluding to.
One other question that I want to speak to, are there any other problems of the EMPs that you are aware of, that Diebold is aware of, beyond what we have found and what the Butler County has experienced, that we should be aware of, and any other county that's using EMPs?
Not that I know of.
There's nothing that I know of. Certainly part of our investigation will be to look at incidents like Butler and poll other users of the EMP and see what they've experienced. That helps us know, that helps give us a clue as to how widespread the problem is, which can help to indicate the root cause.
Mr. Rich, our most difficult election for your site takes place 53 weeks from today. And it seems to me that we have to have a confidence level of the operating of the equipment that we're putting out there to the voters, whether it's in the actual casting of ballots themselves or whether it's in counting of those ballots, which the EMP systems are doing that. Are you in a mode within Diebold election systems right now that you have enough people on this job to find out exactly what happened and make the corrections in a reasonable length of time?
Oh, yes.
I mean, when you tell me it could take over a year, then we're beyond the election.
No, remember, a year, not a year to diagnose. I'm saying, when I refer to a year, that's suppose there's a software change that needs to be made and it needs to be recertified, that sort of thing. That the final solution can be delayed by the certification process. But and that's in the absence of a workaround. You use workarounds until you can get the new system, the new certified system in place. I think, for the diagnosis, as I stated earlier, these kinds of problems can take days to weeks. Usually that's it, as far as finding out the cause and identifying a solution. At that point, you know pretty much how long the solution will take to execute.
Can you make it a point, I'm going to ask both of you to communicate to this board on a monthly basis the progress you're making in solving this problem?
Certainly. I think we would be
Say it
in.
again,
Okay.
Mr. Bennett?
I'd like you to communicate monthly to the board as to the progress that you're making on correcting this problem.
Well, you're saying directly to the board, because there will obviously be almost daily communication with the team here in Cuyhoga County, our team,
But I'd like
to resolve the problem.
I'd like, until this problem is solved, I'd like to have somebody from Diebold election systems at our future meetings to tell us what you're finding, to bring us up to date as to your findings and where do we stand in the process of getting our EMPs to operate the way we obviously assume that they would operate when we purchased them.
Barring any unforeseen conflicts, I will personally be at the board meetings, and I will personally report that to you.
And also, as part of this, Mr. Rich, we've only referred to 2 other counties in the state of Ohio, who are your customers for this particular machine. But I'm sure, I want you also to catalog and analyze your other users to find out if there are any other problems that they've experienced outside of what we've talked about here, the fat allocation table and the new condition called lockup. Have any of your other customers experienced any other problems not previously identified outside of the state of Ohio?
None that I know.
Well, continue to catalog.
Well, of course.
Okay.
Of course.
Which, one other thing, you talked a little bit about
Oh, I see. Okay, well, okay, let me make sure I understand that we don't look at this as a workaround right now anyway, because right now it's just a theory, that at the very least provides a clue as to the problem. But I believe what you're saying is that until there is a certified EMP system that completely solves the problem, addresses the problem, the Cuyhoga would not use this, is that correct? Or is that what you stated?
I'll leave that up, I'll leave that up to you and the task force and the board as far as what their preference is, but
I think that we would have to have much more information
Of
than
course.
we currently have as to what is happening. And you're gonna have to go to your diagnostic and forensic analysis and
Right.
Bring that back to us. I just want to make sure that we're moving the ball forward on this problem every single day. Because there does come a time when we have to take a look and make a decision whether, in
Right.
fact, we're going to, at some future point, rely on this type of uploading of our election data results or not.
Yeah, I mean, this is a product we had believed to be reliable, and so we must find the problem. It's not working the way we intend it to work. So,
And I think that's the purpose of our, at least getting a monthly report. I don't care how you generate it to us, whether it's through you or the staff. But we want to know exactly where you stand and what progress that you've made to correct the problem.
sure, of course.